The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Hey everybody, I'm Jake Newton, the Chief of Operations for CPPS, the Center. If you're unfamiliar with us, check us out at cpps.com. I'm sure you've probably heard this statement, and it's a misnomer, so I want to talk about it. The only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. It's something I've seen a lot, especially after incidents occur, such as an active assailant or mass shooting type situation. And it really does a disservice to people. So I want to talk about why that is and perhaps what we can do to better set ourselves up for success in this area. You see, in this space, you probably know as a protection professional yourself, if that's what you do, but you know, if you think about extreme crises or situations that are really dynamic in nature, absolutes are rarely, if ever, the case. So saying things like this can really create a sense of, or a lack thereof, a lack of confidence for those individuals that, let's just say, you know, aren't comfortable with firearms. And well, we have to be able to create this environment where everybody has confidence to respond to this kind of extreme situation. And so when we say something like this, it's creating that absolute. If you look at a lot of different incidents that have occurred historically, there have been many examples where assailants have been stopped without a firearm. And the Waffle House incident that happened several years ago is one example. Assailant walks in, opens fire with a semi-automatic AR-style rifle. Somebody gets up, grabs the rifle away from them, throws it. The assailant runs out, ends up getting taken down by law enforcement. In Colorado a few years ago, also at a restaurant, the assailant walks in, they get tackled by a veteran, stop the incident, stopping mass carnage, all without a firearm. You see, when we talk about these kinds of absolutes, it can create a lack of confidence for the ability to respond. So let me talk more about what that means. In the Air Force, we used to teach people how to survive extreme crises similar to this, to include actually responding to getting shot at, for example. But we would teach high-risk identified individuals how to respond things like being taken hostage, or being a prisoner of war, or being detained by a foreign government, all very extreme situations. And we would walk them through how they could survive that kind of scenario in a manner that if they experience it, they're going to have confidence that they can get through it and that they will recover. So when we did our jobs poorly, when we didn't do our job well, we were at risk of creating what we call learned helplessness. And learned helplessness would be something like this. Somebody goes through this kind of training, and on the backside they go, you know, I hope I never experience something like this. And not that anybody would anyway, but they come on the backside of training, they say, I hope I never experience something like this, because if I ever do, there is nothing I'm going to be able to do to survive. That mentality is learned helplessness. And when we're talking about something extreme like an active assailant, at the Center we talk about the options-based approach. There's a lot of different ways to respond and survive, but we have to talk about it from the perspective of we're putting the onus on the individual, giving them that empowerment that they can survive. And there's a whole myriad of options to survive a situation like this, and that's why we have protocols such as run, hide, fight, among others. But there's a lot of things that individuals can do to respond to this kind of issue and survive and get through that kind of situation. So when we're looking at this, is this an option? Yes, it is an option, but it's not the only option. And that's the big thing we have to be careful of. We don't want to create the sense of learned helplessness. We want to create a sense of confidence that when people experience this kind of issue, they're going to be able to get through it. They're going to have that survival mindset that we like to talk about. But the onus is on the individual. They have to identify for themselves, assess the situation, identify the best option, respond accordingly, and then survive the best way they can given the circumstances. So regardless of what the situation looks like, this isn't the case. We shouldn't be saying across the industry after incidents happen that the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. So something worth talking about. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and comment if you see a spot for comments around. I'd appreciate hearing your perspective on this as well. But we can instill confidence. This is a very low likelihood event, but it would have a very high impact on individuals. So we want to teach people that there's a myriad of options to survive. There's a myriad of options to get through this, and we don't want to create a false sense of confidence or even create a lack of confidence in one's ability to survive. So appreciate you watching. That's all for now. I'm Jake Newton with CPPS. Until next time, cheers.